Denise was my sister. She was born a year and a half after I, and died at the age of about in her early 40s as a complication of borderline personality disorder. Now, certainly, when we were youngsters, neither I nor my parents nor the rest of my family had any idea what was going on with Denise. But Mother knew from the very beginning there was something wrong with Denise. And in later years, she would tell me that she understood from the time she picked her up as a baby that she just wasn't the same as her older brothers, my older brother and me. That she couldn't soothe her nearly as well. She would cry fretfully over very little things, and it would be very difficult for her to comfort her and to hold her. She would resist being held and taken care of the way mothers take care of their babies, and nurtured. That's the word I'm searching for. Now, of course, I was much too young to observe any of that or know anything and know of any of that, and I really didn't observe anything. And by the way, as Mother told me, that as Denise got older through her childhood, it was hard to get her off to school, and I saw quite a bit of that. And that when she did go up to school, she would frequently have stomach aches, back to the GI system and the autonomic nervous system being a bit too active for people who have borderline disorder. And she would complain about stomach aches and not be able to go to school. And then she would, as time went on into her teens, it was more than that. It was more than her taking her hair and twisting it and pulling hair out and having blotches of empty spots on her head when she was a youngster. In her teens, she became outright aggressive. Denise could get angry. I mean, really angry. One of the stories that's very vivid in my mind is the time when, I guess Denise was about 14 or 15, maybe I was 16 or so. She got into a big row with my mother. I mean, it was fierce. And she decided that this time she meant business and she was going to leave home. So she told my mother she was leaving home. Now, Mom had heard every other threat, everything else had happened that could possibly happen. She had not heard this one before. She had no idea how to handle this. It wouldn't have made any difference anyway, because Denise was out the door with just her light shirt on. It was like April, still cool, or March even, and she was gone. And we didn't see her the rest of the day. We didn't see her that night. And my mother and father got in the car and went out looking for her and could not find her. Having thought about Denise and breaking golf clubs in China and other things, and having lived with her a bit, we all pretty much understood that Denise was not coming back until she was jolly well keen on coming back. And that was not for 3 more days. During 3 days, Denise had stayed in a church, in the choir, and the only thing she had was water to drink. And that's how she lived for 3 days. But her emotional convictions were such, her anger was such, her internal discomfort was such, she could not pull herself together before then. She had 2 of the really great risk factors for not doing well. One was she had had some treatment, although it would not be treatment of the level that we have today, but she also was abusing alcohol. Those are 2 very, very bad predictors of outcome. And so, unfortunately, a few years later, at her birthday celebration with her family, she choked on a piece of food, and her hypoxia was such that it really did wipe out her central nervous system. Although she lingered for another year and a half in a comatose state, she eventually died. That's the bad side. On the good side was Denise was remarkable. Of the 5 of us, I've often thought that she had the most to contribute to the world. She was by far, I think, in many ways the brightest. She was the most charming, except for when her demons were upon her. She truly wanted to make a mark in this world. Even though the demons were often upon her, she went, in her 20s, she went through nursing school, became a nurse, and cared for the elderly. She graduated #1 in her class, gave the valedictory response, or talk. She wrote poetry and had it published. She was a remarkable person. I loved being with her, and I still miss her terribly, as you can probably tell.